Chapter 2, Medical Term Components. Greek and Latin terms have parts that make up the words. These parts that we are going to be studying are some that we've already talked about in Chapter 1. They are the prefixes, the suffixes, the combining forms, word roots, and combining vowels. The reason why I have the chicken on the slide was because I like these two chicken nuggets. They have pieces, parts that make them up. And so when we take these different word parts and we put them together, they make a compound medical term. A suffix then is a ending of a medical term that is added at the end of a root or a combining form to change its meaning. So if you remember in Chapter 1 we talked about the train and how the last car of the train is the caboose, and so the caboose is also known as the suffix. The suffix is always at the end and the caboose is always at the end. So in the examples listed here, once we have memorized the suffixes by making the flashcards and memorizing their meanings, we should be able to look at these examples and then pick off the suffix. And you may be able to do it along with me as we do it in this PowerPoint. So for the first term, gastritis, you may see a word ending here that looks maybe familiar or sounds familiar. Itis is the suffix in this word, and it means inflammation. In the term cephalalgia, algia is the suffix, and it means pain. In the term mastectomy, ectomy is the suffix, and it means removal. In the term laryngospasm, spasm is the suffix, and it means involuntary twitching. In the term tonsillectomy, ectomy means removal or excision. In the term iridemia, emia is the suffix, and it means condition of blood. In the term lipoma, oma is the suffix, and it means tumor. A combining vowel is usually always the vowel O to make the term flow or ease in its pronunciation. A combining vowel is used before a suffix that begins with a consonant. So in these examples, each of the suffixes begin with a consonant. When the suffix begins with a consonant, then a combining vowel is placed between the word root and the suffix to help the term flow in the pronunciation. So in this term, gastrodynia, dynia is a suffix, and the suffix starts with a consonant, so we will put a combining vowel, the O, before that to link the word root to the suffix. Same for the term phlebotomy. Tomy is the suffix. It starts with a consonant, which is T, and we add a combining vowel to link that to the word root phlebe. In this term, cardiogram, gram is the suffix. Gram starts with a consonant G, so we are going to use a combining vowel to link that to the word root cardi, to ease in the pronunciation of cardiogram. And the last example, dermatolysis. In this example, lysis is the suffix, and it begins with a consonant L, so we're going to put the combining vowel in front of that to link the word root dermat to the suffix lysis, and it is pronounced dermatolysis. Combining vowel is used to link a word root to another word root to form a compound word. So in the examples, dermatomycosis, dermat is a word root, mic is a word root, and so we're going to use a combining vowel to link those two word roots together. In the example, gastroenteritis, same thing, gaster is a word root, enter is a word root, and we use the combining vowel to link those two word roots together. Same for osteoarthritis. In this term, oste is a word root, arthur is a word root, and we use the combining vowel to link those two combining forms or word roots together. In the last term, encephalomeningitis, encephalo is the word root, and meninge is the other word root that we combine with that combining vowel O. So these are pronounced dermatomycosis, gastroenteritis, osteoarthritis, and encephalomeningitis. There are adjectives that are used as suffixes, and if you haven't studied an adjective for a while, an adjective is a word that's used to modify a noun. So in the example, she wore a yellow sweater. Yellow is the adjective. It modifies sweater or tells about the sweater. So there are certain suffixes that we put on the end of terms to change it to its adjectival form. In the first example, ilium, which is a portion of the bowel, or it could be a portion of the hip, the iliac crest. Ilium is the noun, and we change the ending of it and change it to an AC for an adjective suffix, and that makes this mean pertaining to the ilium, because ac, al, ar, airy, eel, and tic are all suffixes that mean pertaining or relating to. So, in this case of tubal, tube would be the noun. To change it to an adjectival form, we would change the N to AL, and then that would make tube into tubal, as in tubal pregnancy, for example. So you can see how each of these are changed at the end, and all of these suffixes in green mean pertaining to or relating to. There are also noun suffixes that are used. If you haven't reviewed what a noun is a person, place, thing, condition, or state of being. In the example, Joe went to the bakery. Bakery is a noun. Joe is a proper noun. So a noun suffix is a suffix that's added to a word root to change that term to its noun form. In the examples, podiatry, urologist, and gynecologist. These all make these word roots into a noun, and these are, we'll learn that ologist means one who specializes in the study of. There are also diminutive suffixes which designate a smaller version of an object. So in the examples, ol, yule, and ickle are all suffixes that mean a smaller version. And so in the example arterial, it is a smaller version of an artery. In the example venule, it is a smaller version of a vein. And in the example particle, it is a smaller version of a part. There are pluralization suffixes listed in the back of your textbook. And when we had a word in the English language and we changed it from its singular to its plural form, we usually changed it by adding an S or an ES. There were exceptions to the rule. If you remember from grade school, if there's one mouse, there are two mice. If there's one goose, there are two geese. If there is one ox, there are two oxen. Now, there was no rhyme or reason as to why we changed the entire word to make it plural from its singular form. However, in Greek and Latin, they do have a rhyme to the reason, and so they have a list of rules that if a Greek or Latin term ends in one of these, then you have a rule of how you change it to a plural form. So if you have a term that ends in A, you will retain the A and add an E in order to make that plural. So bursa would be burse-e, and so you would add B-U-R-S-A-E to make it plural. For the singular word ending in AX, you're going to drop the X and add CES. So if, for example, thorax, you drop the X and add CES, and that becomes two thoraces. If a medical term ends in EN, you drop the EN and add INA. So lumen, L-U-M-E-N, would then become lumina, L-U-M-I-N-A, to make it plural. A singular term ending in IS, the rule is to drop the IS and add ES. So diagnosis is one, a singular term, and then to drop the IS and add ES, it will become diagnoses, which is the singular or the plural term of that word. You can go on and read the rest of the rules here. If a word ends in IX, you drop the IX, little typo there, and add ICES. If a word ends in EX, you drop the EX and add ICS. If a word ends in ON, you drop the ON and add A. If a word ends in um, you drop the um and add an a. Like, for example, diverticulum becomes to diverticula. A word ending in us, drop the us and add an I. So one fungus becomes two fungi. For the term ending in y, it's just like the English language. You drop the y and add ies. And then the last rule is if a term ends in ma, you keep the ma and add ta. So carcinoma is singular. Carcinomata then becomes the plural form of that word. Be sure to do page 28 in the textbook, as this will help you understand how to change a singular term to a plural term. There's a worksheet that you will apply those rules and change a word from its singular to its plural form. So for the quiz over Chapter 2, you must know all the suffixes and their meanings from pages 15 through 21, and that's where you're going to make your flashcards. I had a little video at the beginning of the lesson that shows how you can make flashcards to memorize these meanings. If you have not had the opportunity to view that, I suggest that you go back and do so now. On the quiz, you may have word roots that you haven't seen, and you don't have to know the meaning of those, but you must be able to identify a suffix. So in the example, maybe I would have a test question that reads, in the term osteocentesis, osteo means bone. What does centesis mean? And then you would have to come up with the answer, which is surgical puncture. You must know the definition of prefix, suffix, combining vowel, and word root. You must know the 4 elements of making up words, and you must be able to identify a word root and a suffix. You also must be able to change words from their singular to their plural form. Please make sure that you don't forget to complete the exercises at the end of the chapter in the textbook, as these will reinforce the material. These are not collected. You do not have to submit them, but I trust that you will complete them to help you understand the textbook and the material better. This is the end of Chapter 2 lecture.